The Loire Valley, the Garden of France, is world famous for its fine wines and fairy tale castles. For Gwen Basin, Canadian gardener, activist, and filmmaker, it is Mecca, home of the world's greatest potager gardens and a chateau that boasts more than 600 varieties of heirloom tomato plants. The chateau's owner is Louis Albert de Broye, a Parisian nobleman, who shares Gwen's passion for the hottest little number in the vegetable garden, that diva divine of the humble vine, the perfect tomato. They come in all shapes, sizes, and colors: red, green, yellow, and black. They have wonderful evocative names: green zebra, black prince, purple calabash, mortgage lifter, each one with a story behind it. Whether you say tomato or tomato, everyone loves them. But you won't find these beauties in a supermarket. They aren't commercially grown. They're heirloom tomatoes, old varieties that have been passed down for generations and passed over by the mass market. Today, they're preserved by gardeners like Gwen Basin.
Sometimes people sort of think it's a bit odd, growing tomatoes and being so attached to the tomato. But in general, there's a lot of people who, they kind of get it and they understand why I do it and why it's important and why all of us are beating the drum about organic food, about heirloom vegetables and all those kinds of things.
After a long, hot summer in Quebec's eastern townships, the tomatoes in Gwen's garden are ripe and inviting, irresistible even. Gwen and her friend Martha Stegman have been waiting for this moment all summer, the first tasting of the latest vintage.
A cheerful little tomato with just a hint of lemon and a delightful overbite. All right.
And delicious is only the beginning, or rather, the ending. Here, vegetables, fruits, and herbs are grown alongside flowers and shrubs, a feast for the eyes as well as the palate.
But my model was this kind of potager orné, the historic decorative vegetable garden. I visited a lot of them in Italy. And so I had a lot of clear ideas in my head of what I wanted this to look like in terms of it being a place that was productive, but also extremely beautiful. And in fact, my big campaign is to try to encourage people to think about vegetables as beautiful as a decorative plant.
Gwen's vocation has been a lifetime finding its expression. The Eden that surrounds her now stands in sharp contrast to her childhood home.
I grew up in a house where the indoor plants were plastic and low maintenance, and the outdoor plants I have very little memory of. My major memory is that my mother had the gardener remove the peonies because she didn't like the ants that you see that they attracted.
Ants didn't bother Gwen. It was city life she didn't like. For over 20 years, Gwen's dream was to own her own farm. But when she finally found a neglected acreage near the hamlet of Duncan, her first reaction was cold feet. Gwen found her salvation in the willing hands of neighbors and friends.
Gwen really enjoys garden projects that are collective and wanted to be able to share a project she felt kind of overwhelmed by alone. And I dream of having a place like this in my life and was more than happy and very enthusiastic to be able to join her in that.
It fulfills a very creative urge. I mean, I've always seen myself since I was quite young as an artist in one way or another. So this is another kind of form of creation, which has a very practical endpoint. You can eat it, or you can look at it, you can enjoy it. But beauty is as important as anything else. Like this is my canvas now. This fellow came to visit me one day. He's a guy I knew not very well, and he walked through the gate and he stopped and he looked at the garden and then he turned to me and he said, "I didn't know you were an artist." And it was like, yes. He gets it. I've achieved, what I'm trying to do here.
Late May kicks off Canada's short growing season. Winter-weary gardeners are more than ready for the great gardening weekend at the Montreal Botanic Gardens. Along with dozens of growers, Gwen Basin is here with Tomatoes Etc., a small company she started 5 years ago to sell heirloom vegetable seedlings.
Normally I sell them, I have a website and I sell them to people over the internet.
Right.
But this is the first time I've sold them this way, and it's like the big mystery retail. Will I be able to go home empty the first day, or will I be taking 200 plants home on Sunday? I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
Gwen grows her seedlings in rented greenhouses, but she started out in her basement.
The plants grew just fine. The basement was a bit of a disaster. The humidity level that a tomato like gyprock isn't too fond of, and so we wound up having to replace all the gyprock. But it was a small sacrifice and a big learning curve.
Today, Gwen isn't just selling tomatoes. As a member of Seeds of Diversity, a national organization that works to protect